Welcome back, folks, to the College COD Summer Open presented by eFuse. My name is McCormick. Alongside myself is Seymour Cast. We've got our losers round 3 matchup underway. This is basically losers semifinals, but Penn State Blue, who have been on an absolute tear, 3-1 their opponents in the last round. Purdue COD, it was a 3-0 sweep, but make no mistake, both of these teams are incredibly powerful, and more importantly, both of these teams have the will, the way, and the composure to get to a map at number 5. This series could go the distance.
Yes, they can. Both of these teams coming out of that winners bracket as well. It's some pretty tough teams. Ottawa Black and SEU Blue. I mean, Purdue's been here since the start, since round number 1. Same with Penn State Blue. I mean, they've had quite, I guess, blowout runs right now. I mean, you look at 3-0s across the board for Purdue COD, and then Penn State a 3-0, a 3-1 to get where they are right now. Loser bracket run, not looking too bad for these squads, but now when they reach each other, you really see what they have to bring into this one, because I feel like if you're kind of taking these two teams who've had pretty similar runs into the losers bracket, this is where you kind of meet head on and you kind of have to look to move mountains against each other, because especially on this map set, it is going to be a tough one. I mean, again, we got the standoff express, search and destroys, this time flipped. It's standoff then express for that map 5, and 2 garrisons, a hard point, a control, and a raid hard point for that map number 4. Plenty of slaying potential across this. This is going to be a fast-paced brawl.
Interesting to note, too, the team that knocked down Purdue into the lower bracket, them 3-1, that was SEU Blue. SEU Blue is now inside of that winners finals. They're going up against Ottawa Black. At the same juncture, though, the team that sent St. Clair down to the lower bracket was a 3-1 win for SEU Blue. Inside of Purdue were able to or Penn State was able to walk through them. So Purdue, a team that loses to St. Clair, Penn State beats them to move on to play against Purdue. Now that kind of sets up the interesting question of what's the difference and disparity between these two teams in terms of slaying potential, but how are they playing against each other comparatively to that SEU Blue roster that is going to make either a different change or maybe allow one team to have that advantage? And I think we can gauge a lot of that, at least these two teams, off of those independent series against SEU Blue.
Well, talk to me a little bit, man, because you're talking about Penn State Blue earlier in the day, and you're talking to them about against that Ottawa Black squad right away, and how they kind of went. They had a really good run against Ottawa Black, probably one of the best teams you're ever going to see in the CCL. So that's going to be something else to keep in mind, is that when you kind of went against the best team, they didn't roll over. They didn't look too bad at all. Yes, it was a 3-0, but I mean, you have to note that every game that Ottawa Black has played has been a 3-0. So it's a hard one when you're going up against that team. But when you kind of look at this Penn State Blue roster, and especially starting off with this Garrison hardpoint cord, what makes them special right now?
I think for Penn State Blue, the one player you have to look to on that roster, first and foremost, is Taste. Taste has been not just an animal throughout last year, but through the entire tournament thus far. He's led the way for this out of Penn State Blue, but you also have to look to Johnson as well. Johnson being an AR player for Penn State, who had glimpses of hope and glimpses of brilliance inside of the playoff run last year for Penn State. And I think we can continue to see that going into the Vanguard year as well. But specifically right now, starting off, 12 fresh points to Purdue COD, but Penn State have broken in. You look to the rotations, it is for the side of Purdue COD at the moment, but we've seen them get broken out a few times. We've also seen them be able to hold hills. It's all going to be on the side of Penn State Blue, though. Can Taze get aggressive with the SMG? Finds the first, but can't find the second on some off-screen engagements. You're going to hold down the last bit of scrap time. Now do you choose to rotate to the spawn side or go straight out through top green to get to the satellite hill?
Well, the breakthrough tragic with a 1-1 trade. Apex finds himself into the hill, breaks through. 3 go down, all blue in the kill feed in the sea. He's going to provide time now into this radar dish. You stick at the spawn to the left side if you are Purdue, so you're able to reinforce this hill immediately. Tom's going to get into the mix. Apex, though, hops up top, gives him the work. Now just looking to keep himself on this one, but the nade's going to clean him up. You have to cut off player branch. So as soon as Purdue get in, you have to take care of this one. A split kill feed, and it is going to give back some time now to Purdue COD. And if I'm looking at Penn State, I don't want to see them get too aggressive. If they're losing lives fast, just make sure you focus on locking down this rotation. But they're getting some spawn outs, and this is a good opportunity for Purdue now to break on through.
And that's the one that hurts right there. You still have the opportunity for spawns in the back, and you'll get them back again for P3. But really, it was a glimpse of hope. You saw them break into P2 for a little bit of time. Purdue was able to kind of recoup, get back into control of that, get the last 30 seconds. But now you look over to P3 and the parallel spawns that we see over towards that left portion of the screen. You're still going to have more Penn State players on the right portion of the map comparatively to the Purdue COD players. However, as Purdue COD try to get pushed up the map, they're also getting met by fire forces from those players who are coming off spawn. So this is going to prohibit that push from coming through, at least effectively early on. It's going to dwindle those players and forces out just a bit, and it's going to also allow Penn State to rack up a good amount of time before that Purdue COD push can eventually come through and a break might be on the limit.
Hayes really wanted to get that second one on the Tragic. You still got the spawns. For a moment, if you're Penn State, how long can your reinforcements keep on trailing up behind you with a big 3 kills down? That's going to allow a full and healthy Penn State Blue Squad roster onto this hill number 3, as they are going to accumulate a lead now over Purdue COD. Look to lock down the rest of the scrap time with the remaining 18. And then this is where you kind of turn the tides here for Purdue, because if you're sticking back here, Corn, if you know how dangerous it can be to break out of this hill number 3 to get into this garbage hill, you need to start focusing on the rotations early. And I like that Penn State Blue are pushing the aggression. They try to force out the spawns from Purdue. You're going to get a split spawn out of there. Now a chance to make things chaotic inside the hill. Taze an opening now, leaves it rather kind of empty on the site, allows Penn State to escape.
Right now it's kind of a kingpin battle between Tragic and Taze for Penn State Blue and Purdue COD. Really what you're looking for right now is Taze with the SMG, Tragic with the AR. Both of those players trying to maneuver around the map to give their team the optimal positioning, and just towards the hard point for rotations as well. But Taze on yet another 3 spree. He's gone on multiple streaks throughout the entirety of this game. Johnson has got himself 4 in a row. So you got 2 players right now at least combining for 7 in a row. You got yourself in point number 4, and although you did get kind of stuck at P3, and Purdue COD have been seemingly getting 3 to 4 down in a multitude of areas, Penn State still built themselves about a 40-point lead. So, you know, credit what you will to the side of Purdue COD for being there in the slaying factor, but Penn State, they're just playing a better hardpoint right now.
Not too shabby, and I think that comes to the case that you're talking about the Kingpin in Tased against Tragic. That's an SMG versus an AR. You know how lethal those SMGs can be on a map like Garrison when they're eating. You're able to close that gap on the Tragic. You can see why they've accumulated the 40-point lead that they have. But now the 5th point, it's open. Blue in the kill feed. Penn State looking for another break on in the spawns for Purdue COD. They're going to be all the way in the back left, and they are going to set up on these power positions. Wait for the retake for Purdue.
Recognize Penn State from last year. It was a one-horse team they had from Penn State. This year, it's separate into 2 different rosters. Taze comes over from the main roster with Johnson, who was playing as a sub throughout most of the year. Then you attack it with Epics and Blanche for Penn State, who have also been kind of players who are new names specifically to us, but have also been around for quite some time. They know how to get wins. They know how to play well together. But the most important part for Penn State to be able to win multiple games and to be able to compete against top dogs like they did against Ottawa in that series is making sure that everybody is on an even playing field, and at the same time, making sure Taze is going to be in a position to feast throughout the map. You get Taze hot, you get him rotating early, you get him just in a position to find those kills and be that main slayer for the team. He's going to do you justice. And with Johnson being able to hold down the AR, he'll be able to do the exact same thing, but you can't discredit what Blanche and Epics are able to bring to the table as well, because it's a great supplement to those 2 players for Penn State that you kind of have as your shining factors.
Second set of rotations, Penn State here, soaking up all the time, gaining a bigger lead. The rotate, or the retake from Purdue, it's going to be right from the left side of the mini map. They're all flooding on in. You got Tom for the pinch. Taze is going to be out there, clean as could be for Purdue. Basically surgical with Epics going down. And now this is where you have to be a little bit scary for Penn State, because you're going to be forced out to the right side. You do have those spawns for Hill 3 when it comes to that, but now you need green control to make sure that you can back up player number 1, Johnson, on this radar dish, who's been here for pretty much the whole entirety of this first hill. He's going to find Vanish Tom after dipping out of the map, and that's going to provide the rotations for Penn State Blue. Purdue COD, they still have a split spawn on the right side. They're able to take control of the 3, or of the hill number 3 side of the map. Now they need to break on through the green.
Not only does Johnson make a smart play to hop out of the map, but also stays in a 6 spree. Looking back towards the hard point, you got Taze, who's starting to get aggressive and making the push out. Nobody spawning behind Penn State right now, so the entire left portion of the map is theirs to keep. All the real estate in the world. They just have to focus their forces on middle map and top green and make sure Purdue COD can't push up the map. And if Johnson can get one more, you're looking at potential full streaks. I don't know if he was able to find the artillery barrage purely off of the hard point time, because you do get little bits of time, or rather little bits of score on the hard point for every 5 seconds that you're inside of the hill. And I don't think that's something we touch on enough, because it usually doesn't play that much of a factor. But Stone makes a play, gets behind Johnson. I believe that shuts down the opportunity, at least for full streaks. Again, might have gotten the artillery barrage, but we'll have to see in just a moment. They'll break in for the last 20 seconds of time, but Penn State Blue, once again, they're already rotated over towards P3.
Roadman gets paid. Stone makes the play. You get the scrap time. Now it's Benji. Oh, He's slipping behind to find Epics here. It'd be such a big kill, but the heads up awareness. Oh, Benji fries him. Can't find the trade, but the opening is there. The retake and the recovery from Penn State successful to find 3 in a row. Lock down the rotations, but you do get a split spawn from player number 4. That's going to be Epics. I'm going to make the trek all the way across. Reinforcements are here. Epics is able to line up and set up now for his team. So Penn State in a really good position now to hold off on for the rest of this time. You just got to get in and start converting this into objective time. And it's going to be Purdue knocking on your door.
I'm going to be the first one to challenge. Benji will fall as well as the hand of Stone vanish. Ooh, they basically just slide out at the exact same time. Tragic is the last player there. That's going to allow Penn State not only to get the last 25 seconds of time here, but they can start pushing out. They're going to get past the 200-point mark. Purdue COD. We say it all the time. It's almost a stigma in Call of Duty now, but you have to play flawless all the way to the end. Harrison is one of those maps you can string hills together on. It's very doable for a comeback. However, you're still down by basically 90 points. You've got to be able to find not only P4, but the rotation over to P5. The next 3 hills are incredibly scrappy. You're going to have to look to P2 and P3 to really get yourself a solid chunk of time. And if Penn State Blue can even just get 15 to 20 seconds on each of the next 3 hills, you're still going to be looking at a Penn State win.
Dazed. Oh, that would have been a big one-on-one. Tom turning up big for his team now for time. Epics, can he break? He can. So it is going to take Purdue off for a few seconds, but Stone's able to replenish where his teammate left off. This is going to be an important time for Purdue to lock this down. You look at Taste on your minimap, player number 2. He's going to be making the full rotation around. He's going to be met by player 7. Can he break on through? He can. He's going to find Tragic. He gets control of the bridge. So now an exit strategy for Penn State. They're going to be starting the spawn on the left side of your minimap. The break's going to be forming through green. But it's Tragic who's turning up with Vanish Tom to keep away the side likes of Penn State Blue. They've cut the lead down to 50. You've got 15 seconds left to collect of the scrap time. You need to start looking at slaying out of these lanes and start to push Penn State back as that back left of your minimap.
Well, of course, Purdue proved me wrong. They go basically hold down a full 60 seconds of time there on point number 4. The rotation over to P5, though, in the hands of Penn State. But Penn State has not been winning all the gunfights that they need to, except for right there. They get 3 down. Last one alive is going to be Tragic. Tragic over the top, at least going to put some shots into Blanche. Now you get to look back over towards the bench side. Tess is going to push in, though. Tragic. Aggressive challenge up the map. I mean, I like the play, but nobody from Penn State was really there for any trades on the hill. That's going to give Penn State another 20 seconds of time, which is going to allow them to further themselves towards that 250-point win condition. And now Stone over towards the back, paired with Benji, will find 2 kills. Johnson just trying to keep these players out, but now it's going to be a spawn trap for the side of Penn State. You're all the way back at tracks. Purdue have gotten all the kills that they need in middle map. They're still holding the scoreboard down. You still got 30 seconds that you have to get. That's a ton of time against Purdue, specifically with the way that they're playing. They get over to P1, they hold it down. You're looking at a Penn State loss.
Penn State now through bricks to break on in. It's Epics for 1, Epics for 2. He gets into the hill now. 6 seconds left. You have the rotations if you're Purdue. This is where things get down and dirty for the later ends of the game. You have to start looking at the overextension for Epics. You have player number 1 to back you up. Benji up to the chopping block. He's gonna fall now. That's a big break for Penn State. They could put this home corn right here on hill 1.
They can do it, but Purdue COD, they have the ability to break back in. Tragic over the top with the Krig. The first one to challenge. One was in lights, but Epics will fall. This is going to allow for the contest to come in. Just saw the game clock out for the time. Johnson pushes up. Here comes Tragic for the shots, but Johnson is there. The Semtex is out. Stone in the hard point, though, as Benji is pushed into lights. Purdue COD, they've gotten a foundation. They've gotten a footing on the map, and now they've got the rotations over to P2 as well. But you've got to send as many players as humanly possible over to P1 until you get to 13 seconds. That's when you can sit up on the rotation. That's when you can feel comfortable getting across the map. Tragic is there. Benji's now pushing out. 10 seconds is all that Penn State needs. But here comes the contention. Epics will fall. Nobody from the side of Penn State's going to be able to get back on a P1 for them to be able to win this game off of the hill. The rotation to P2 is there for Purdue COD. This could be a swing.
Gotta flood through. You have to fly if you're Penn State Blue. You know your win condition is just 8 seconds left. However, you have the mountain to climb if you're Purdue. Now you see the setup from Breaks, the pinch with Blanche. It has to be picture perfect right now, and Epics is gonna lead the way with 1. You have Tragic to take down 2 in the back line before falling, so this is good so far for Purdue. God, they're able to recover where they dropped, and now they are going to have the rotation to hill 3 if they can lock this down, but they can put this away here. 10 seconds for one team, 20 for the other one. Tragic's going to get in. He's going to lock it down. The ARs, they're thriving. Benji in the back now. You got 18 seconds left for Purdue to put this one home. One more flood for Penn State Blue. Blanche is going to clear it out. You got the reinforcements from up top. It's Tom and Stone. Tragic to take it all through there, but it's not enough to break through the setup. that Penn State Blue had acquired off of taking the last player out in the back line. What a phenomenal retake, but man, did that get scrappy.
Purdue had it in their sights. The comeback was there. Penn State, though, forced a situation where it was just too little too late for the comeback. And what it really came down to there at the end, it was more of a tragic gunfight versus Tased and Epics. But Epics kind of went big for Penn State over those last two hills because there was a moment where they started to push up into dark. They got the kills in dark down. Although he died there, was able to get on the rotation. And then once they started to flood through, Epics pushed right in. But again, nothing can be understated about what Penn State was able to do on the retake there. Purdue got a little scrappy. They were just trying to flood into that hill. They knew there was only a little bit of time for Penn State. Penn State, although they were down, it seemed like they were calm enough. They just wanted to make a slow push in. They just were focused on getting those kills over through Square and into Kabul. They got through there, and once they got those couple of kills down, then it was forcing the hand of Purdue having to slide challenge out from top green on the off spawn, and that's where things really started to go wrong for the side of Purdue, even though they got those rotations to P2. Penn State, despite it being a damn close game there at the end, they survive. They go on to the next one, and this is kind of reminiscent of what we saw in that last series that Penn State played, a very closely contested map number 1, a round 11 win in map number 2. And then they lost that map number 3, which could be a swing map for Purdue COD. But again, that means they still have to lose map number 2. And we haven't even talked about the standoff search and destroy yet, what that can bring to the table. There's thunder outside right now. I'm not sure if you can hear that. Either way, even the gods are happy to watch this series.
You got thunder too? I had thunder outside my way. You know, we might be in Canada and America here, but we share the same thunder, I guess.
I mean, like two completely tail ends too. Like I'm South Florida, you're like all the way up here in like Canadian land, and it's like okay.
Canadian land. Oh my. Anyways, to cut back on that, I think it's important to highlight Penn State Blue and what you're talking about for them as well, because, you know, at the end of the day, a win is a win, and you get that hard point under your belt. I like that they slowed it down towards the end there because you started to get hot on the side of Purdue COD. You saw that Tragic was really leading the way the whole way through, but then his supporting cast came to play towards the end, and it was getting dicey. It was getting close. Benji himself was making sure that those routes were locked down for his team to rotate through. But you're right. I mean, you just slow things down. You take it one step at a time. The break from Penn State, it might not have been clean, but it was very composed, and they got the job done at the end of it. Now, you're looking at standoff for that map number 2. Something that's really highlighted in standoff often is the first blood factor, and the fact that standoff is huge. There's so much map to cover. You have to be looking at Purdue. If they want to bounce back in this, you have to look at taking control of those first blood lanes. They did a good job at that back in Express in their last series. If they can do that exact same task, and I'm looking at Vanish Tom to do that task, if they can do that here, they are going to acquire so much map control by negating the numbers advantage to Penn State Blue.
I mean, at the same time, like, yes, standoff is a decently sized map, but like, you can make that map feel so much bigger when you're able to hold down lines. If you're able to get aggressive though, like say you get control of top brown immediately, or you just get control of the brown house, get out onto the B bomb, then that map can feel extremely tiny because there's nowhere that you really have to go except for the house, unless somebody's playing an off angle over towards where P4 would be. You're really looking at something that is going to be at least a smile on a lot of faces for that offensive team that gets into that B building. So. Look, Penn State, the slang can't be understated, but for the side of Purdue, you could say the same things. Tom and the rest of the team didn't have the craziest of games, but they weren't bad games by any stretch of the imagination. Sure, Tragic led the way, as we usually will see him do. He's an incredible slayer, and that can't be taken away from him at the AR role at that. But when you have Epics, as well as Taze dropping 35 apiece in just base kills, they quite literally drop 70 kills together in a hard point right here, and that doesn't happen every day. You don't usually have two guys dropping 70, 80 kills on a map. That's what they do in map number 1. You keep that up into map number 2, you're looking at a Penn State roll through of Purdue COD. However, the caveat to that is what we saw from Purdue COD last time in the search and destroy. They looked incredibly dangerous against Texas Tech. If they bring that same energy here, although it was on an express into standoff, we could be looking at a 1-1 tie.
Well, it looks like the lobby has broken one more time here in this. So I always say it's not a day of Call of Duty if you don't have some lobby issues. So while we wait to get standoff underway and wrap back up, we are going to throw it to a quick little break. And when we return, map number 2, standoff between Penn State Blue and Purdue COD. So don't go anywhere because we will try to get this back as soon as we can.
Welcome back, folks. Penn State Blue, Purdue COD, a 1-0 lead in the series for Penn State here. Purdue COD are trying to go ahead and find themselves on the reverse comeback, trying to tie the series up 1 apiece. This is the loser semifinals. You don't win, You're out of the bracket. You still place top 4, and that's great, but you're trying to get back to the grand finals. You're trying to get to the losers finals at least, and either take on Ottawa Black or SCU Blue inside of the losers finals. That match will take place a little bit later on today, as well as winner finals and grand finals. Proper and I Hold Shift will be taking you through those matches, but as we got 23 seconds left and the bomb is down, it's a 2 versus 3 retake here for Penn State. They played this a bit slow, and as Taze tries to push up the map, you really just got to press the issue, and it probably needed to come a little bit faster than this. However, though, now it's a 1 versus 2. You can push back here over towards the bomb. You got to find the player in the corner, and you can. They get the bomb as well. What the hell?
Excuse me?
Dead.
Penn State tased and Johnson, man. You said they came back onto this roster together, and you can see the trust between the two of them. I mean, Taze right away hits the OE. He gets shot by Tragic down, but at the same time, Johnson was taking the other one-on-one. They both with him. You spot out Benji, cleans up House, but it all forms off that initial gunfight between Vanish Tom and Taze and Epics, because I didn't expect nothing less from Taze and Epics to make the full wrap through Hotel as fast as they can, try to catch somebody from behind. Tom, he was ready for it, but it was only a 1-for-1 trade. So as the bomb goes down at A, you have a 3-3 retake. And Penn State, they played that phenomenally.
What did I have to say? Like, oh, I wish they would have played this a little bit faster, and then all of a sudden it's just 2 kills that go down. Like, it's just those little stupid things like that. But trade will come through. Still a 3 versus 2. Penn State the advantage. Bomb will go down over towards this A site. As you look, Tom and Tragic look to play this rotation back over towards the A site. They'll try to break this back in, but Johnson open towards the top of round. Shots are going to be there from Tom, and now you can just collapse this here. Penn State, though, making a great play, playing extremely passive in towards the square by the A site. Johnson not willing to overpeak and get aggressive on the kill for Tom, and this is going to allow them to play this angle completely together. They're going to trade around the corner here. Beautiful play from Penn State on the post-plant setup. They'll take a 2-0 lead.
Look at the strats coming out from there. As soon as you get the 2-for-1 over towards the A side and the bomb goes down, Johnson makes such a heads-up play to rotate into top Hotel. Then you just have that rotation cut off immediately. You could just be throwing shots down onto those last 2 players and allow Penn State's submachine guns to fly on through that A site. But instead, he finds that first one, puts it in 3v1, and you just see this SMGs. They back up into the small square. They hold the crossfire, and they play trades. The bait and switch was great to put them up in a 2-0, but you got to look at Johnson and making that possible. Now, onto attack. You want to see Purdue to start, get some momentum. Stone's going to be leading the way through the courtyard. Puts his back to Taze, and he throws for his blood.
5 in a row here from Taze. If you wanted a final boss that you have to get through to even get to the losers finals, that's the guy right there.
It's this guy.
I was saying beforehand, this dude Taze is on a mission. Not only to get back through the losers bracket, but they want another chance at Ottawa. With 2 in the round already, Benji's looking for the flank here. They're playing up in towards top brown. Maybe some good timing. Taze on the staircase will fall, so that's the opportunity for streaks off the board. Thank goodness if you're a Purdue COD fan, because you don't want an artillery barrage here. Out of Penn State already on the map that's so open like standoff, but his Blanche is going to be able to find that kill. Now it's a 1 versus 3. Benji loves playing through the back lines, loves getting aggressive in the flanking spawn of the opposition. But this time, though, only one person's able to read it. Should be all over. Everybody playing for trades.
They should know this. I mean, he has that tendency to make these flank plays, but instead he's going to find that opening. The trade is there, only able to find 1 before dropping. That's 3 in a row for Penn State Blue. Looking as good as ever over to the search and destroy, and it's really coming off of that fast-paced energy that I'm seeing from them. The way that they took control of the courtyard and hotel before you're even able to see any of those players, that's just the quick pace that I'm expecting from Taze and Epics to really shut down Purdue. I mean, Stone had no idea there was a player to his left, and that first blood, it provides so much to Penn State Blue.
Quick 3 rounds for Penn State. Purdue COD, you got to make adjustments here on this round. This is basically the do or go home round. Because if you're not able to take out the side of Penn State Blue in at least 1 round of search and destroy within the first 4, and they get a nice lead on you, pretty much all downhill from there. We've seen Purdue COD, though. They've came back from a lot of deficits, specifically in search and destroy, and now with the 4-2 advantage on the side of Penn State Blue. It's going to be the first sign of optimism. Side, BT2, Tragic, Stone, and Benji. Around the corner. Taze laying down. Epic's just trying to play around inside of the corner. Tom doesn't want to get too aggressive, but look at the pinch play they have. They have everybody from Penn State surrounded. Unless they pull off some theatrics like they did beforehand in the last few rounds. So we're going to be looking at a Purdue COD round win here. The trade isn't there, though. Okay. I thought Taze might have been able to pull something crazy out again, specifically after Tom wasn't able to find that initial trade. But again, that pinch play comes through. They win that round. and avoid calamity.
You know, you're talking about win conditions there. If Epics maybe just flew out in front of Taze to try to get a bait and switch there and just overwhelm those two players, you take the fight on the 2-1-2 and just before that pinch even comes into fruition, possibly you can see another round for Penn State Blue. But very important bounce back round for Purdue COD. It wasn't clean. Get the job done again, exactly like that hard point in box of Penn State. Now back onto attack. You have to remember that it's been constantly dominated in Hotel between Epics and Taze, but this time Tragic opens up with the first blood onto Blanche. And now if they can work this map slow and steady, they can look to pick out the other ones. You should know that Epic and Taze, they've been playing in Hotel all game long, so I'm sure this won't go unchecked.
Of the house. Down below, Tased around the corner. Framed this up so perfectly earlier. It was a battle of the slang between Tragic and Tased in map number 1 that came so beautifully into fruition. As Tragic comes around the corner, Tased will be able to get the best of him at 9-2 here through the first 5 rounds of play. Johnson over towards A. Bomb will go down, so it's going to be a 3-on-3 retake, but you have equalized things out. 40 seconds to make their way all the way back, and if it was a 2 versus 3 the last time, with only 15 seconds left on the clock for you to be able to make the play, get the defuse as well. Surely anything with 30 seconds left is going to be possible for Penn State to come back from. Epics around the corner. You got a one-on-one gunfight against Benji, but Benji will go ahead and win it. Now you're in the same position with Taze and Johnson once again going for the retake here. Taze falls though. Johnson, the last one alive, will find the first, but traded out immediately after the fact. Purdue, God, 2 solid rounds on an offense and a defense. They'll go back and forth for tandem. Only 1 round away from tying things up at 3-3 in the S&D.
You know, I was thinking, the fact that Epics and Taze are alive, anything can happen in this backline for Benji, but the heads-up awareness that flank is possible through Barn. He takes down that first one, Epics. He gets the crossfire into the player pushing to that small square, and then you wait for Johnson around the corner. Purdue played that almost picture perfect when you're looking at that post-plant setup in a 3v3. Aside from that earlier 2v3 that you saw from Taze and Johnson, you're not falling into the same tendencies that you are. So you are seeing some patches being filled, or some holes being filled, sorry, before the set of Purdue COD. But can they even us up right now? This is going to be a big round to put momentum all the way to Purdue's side and even us up 3-on-3. You're looking at first blood if you're Tom. Epics, he sneaks away with that bomb.
Not aggressive into the B site. That's what I wanted to see out of Penn State this round. Change things up. Don't go directly over towards A. Try to make sure that you can get at least some sort of semblance of a push together as a collective unit. You want to get that first blood. Purdue COD has got him the last 2 rounds, and there it is. Johnson will find it from the top of the brown house on the crossover towards the tank. Now you got a 4 versus 3. You can play this really to any bomb that you want to. You can get back over towards B, or you can wrap this over towards A. It's going to be a 2 versus 1 on the actual site itself. But you got to be looking for Tom. Things are equalized now in a 3 versus 3. Around the corner, Tom doesn't give away the position yet. Taste around the corner. Epic's the second one to Chow. Shots aren't going to be there. Actually doesn't weaken him up at all. So it'll be a 2 versus 2. Bomb should go down here over towards A. They're just trying to clear this out and make sure nobody can come on the flank.
What was it? Last time it was Johnson who went up top brown and was the cutoff player. This time Tragic realizes the potential. Takes him down. Stone from the other side. They win their one-on-one, so they get back into the defuse. With 2 players remaining, it is going to be easy defuse for Purdue COD to put themselves 3-3. An important round to bring themselves back into this, to put momentum all the way in their favor. Now, Penn State Blue, after taking 3 rounds themselves, they lose 3 in a row. What do you need to see from them? Like, what do they need to change? Because it's not a lot that, like, really both of these teams need to change. But if they need to get out of this hole that they're digging, what do you need to see from Penn State?
Obviously, you need to see the slaying step up from 2 of the 4 members on Penn State. Like, obviously, Johnson at 4-4, that's great. Taze has done a fantastic job through the first couple of rounds at 9-4, but how many times have we seen a situation where a team has one player who is just masterfully walking throughout the map, basically unkillable through the first couple of rounds, and once that player slows down a bit, then the opposition is able to win a couple of rounds back in a row on the opposition. All the time. So now as Purdue comes back around on the flank, they go all the way through on the defensive side through the gas. And now you gotta look for Penn State players on the staircase. Oh, Stone isn't able to find the shots onto the first. So now it's a 4 versus 2. Penn State got the first blood in this round for a second time. However, this one should be looking like a round win unless Purdue can pull off a 2 versus 4 akin to what we saw in round number 1.
If you're looking at the mini-map, who do you think's on attack and defense right now? It's completely flipped for either side. That's a huge one for Tragic to pull themselves back in this. 40 seconds to work with. You got 2 players side by side, and if you're looking at the setup from Penn State, not sure if they know they dropped bomb back in gas station, they are going to have a lot of information from Johnson provided to both your SMGs and your FFAR player. And with that, throws a shoulder, calls for the player in boxes, Blanche to push out and find that kill. Now 3v1, Vanish Tom. No openings to either bomb site. Really has to force his way on in. And with 15 seconds left, it almost looks mathematically impossible to take this round win. He's going to walk right into Blanche and Penn State Blue. They cut the bleeding. And now they go up back into their lead.
Sure, you cauterize the wound, right? But here's my question. After Purdue do what they do, Penn State make an unorthodox play getting all the way around through the gas station. I get that was weird, but how many times are you going to be able to make a play like that that's going to work out without Purdue being able to either make an adjustment for it or be able to realize where that play is coming from and then being able to shut that down? Sure, it gets you an offensive round, or rather a defensive round win, and you go up 4-3. It was a much needed round, but you can't do something similar to that again, and the aggression through the middle map does not work because Purdue's not giving you an inch by the brown house. Like, the only way you're going to be able to get a pick is if Johnson from up top is able to get the one on the cross again, or maybe you find someone over from the statue or the back bus head glitch to be able to find that first blood. Penn State's basically digging themselves yet another hole, but it's just in a much different way because they're basically forcing themselves to get stuck in the middle of the map.
Yeah, you can see player number 5, Blanche, all the way back gas station because Tragic made the overextension last time, so it's going to be a player down now, moving on to this A site. Epic's with the bomb. You don't want to get caught out here because that bomb will be in no man's land if he goes down. Shots flying through the map. Nobody going down. The full rotation back to the B site for Penn State. You still got Taze watching this flank from behind, but now every single arrow, it's going to be forcing their way on through towards Delhi. You see the shoulder thrown by Vanish Tom. Tragic draws first blood. Now Purdue with numbers. 26 seconds left. They could just play retake here.
Like I said, it was a trap. Purdue played it perfectly. They played it smart. They set all the way back. Now Epix is going to have to be forced into a one-on-one gunfight with the player on the tractor. We're able to win that. Going around the corner, comes down for the challenge. 2 in a row now for the side of Purdue. It's a 1 versus 3 here from Blanche. You got to get the bomb down. You got to get the last 2 kills. But unfortunately, you're not going to be able to do either of those 2 things. Purdue play it smart. They run away. They tie things back up at 4 apiece. A good defensive round win gets them back. This is what I was afraid of. It was an adjustment for 1 round for Penn State. But again, that play is not going to work out every time. You can't make that same type of play every time. And if you get yourself aggressive in the middle map just the way you did there, it just allows for the defensive team to play slow with their ARs on set head glitches and then pick you off 1 by 1. It's an easy round win for Purdue COD. At least Penn State is scratching their heads once again. What can they do on the defensive side? Because I guarantee if they try to go through gas again, it's not going to work.
Earlier into the game, they were putting a lot of heavy emphasis over on the hotel. That is an unfortunate stunt. Stone. Who put that sign there? Honestly, who put that sign there? Because I don't remember it. But anyways, Tragic. He's going to pull Taze off of that first blood. Again, first blood over to Purdue. And this is something that I highlighted, that if you can find these first bloods on a map like Standoff, you are going to dominate the map. So far, let's see what Penn State can do, or Purdue can do with this blood. You got Epix in the corner. Are they going to sniff this one out? The nade tags him up. He's going to be forced out there. No follow-up from that nade, but instead, he's going to slide up, catch him on the exit. Now, 2-player advantage. You have to be looking at player number 8, Johnson, but Benji ready for it as ever. Again, Blanche in a 1v4, now a 1v3. Let's see if he can turn it into a show at least with 22 HP. Trap's going to push it, and that is going to be another round for Purdue. They put themselves on map point now going into round 10.
From an 0-3 deficit in the S&D now to a 5-4 victory. Penn State have had no answer for the resurgence, well as the adjustments that Purdue COD have been able to put forth. Now stomping the foot down at 5-4. Again, we basically said this is going to be a must-win map for Purdue to tie things up at 1 apiece because Penn State, instead of the respawn, they've looked good. How many comebacks are Purdue going to be able to put on the table if Penn State's able to get another lead like they did inside of map number 1? Epix and Taze now making a push over towards the alleyway. Might have spotted out Benji on the foot, but no, the trade is there. Taze will find the kill, so it is a 3 versus 3. Nothing off the board just yet, but it's another situation where still they have a ton of time to work with. They're just going to be trapped in a bad situation.
Stone's got to run. He can't get caught by Johnson up top. Ooh, that was dangerous, but makes it out alive. That kill from Benji was so big to shut down the flank from Taze. Now they have to take their fight to A. from the front, and you got ARs back here. Taze has no backup from the SMG. Tom's gonna take him down. That's bombed down as well. Right in front of the A side, you have the crossfire, and take a look at your mini-map, because player number 3, that's Tragic, has made the overextension, putting Johnson in a 1v3. Purdue COD from 0-3. They take the search and destroy 6-4, a big map to lay them even in the series.
Yeah, you called it out perfectly. Tragic on the flank. Didn't start out all that hot here in the search and destroy, but was able to go ahead and find himself late in the game. Makes the biggest play inside of the S&D right there on standoff to force a 1-1 tie. So down 0-3 was the side of Purdue COD inside of the S&D there. They come back. They're able to take multiple rounds in a row to make it a 6-4 win. Now we talk control on Garrison. Because after what we saw in map number 1, it was the side of Purdue that caught fire at the end. Going back to that same map where they were able to get a little bit of wind in their masts. Now, if you look after that S&D right there, Penn State's probably shaking their heads a little bit, going, man, we shouldn't have lost that game. We were up by so much. That's where the composure has to come in. We know that Penn State has the ability for composure, but if there's one mode that they kind of struggled in a little bit more than anything else, specifically against Ottawa, was in control. They played the hard point close. It was a 45-point loss that they had there. It was it was actually a 6-4 scoreline like we saw there on the standoff in the S&D, and there was a 3-0 for the side of Ottawa. Although it was a 3-0 overall in the series, it still showed that the one mode that they lacked a little bit more than anything else was that control. So if Purdue COD can capitalize off of it here, this could be a great step in the right direction to not only a 2-1 lead, but being able to potentially close things out in the map number 4.
Well, Corn, we got Garrison, big swing map now. You got to look at the SMGs to eat. You can't allow Taste and the Epics to drop 30 bombs each going into this next map. If you're Purdue, you want to shut that one down. However, over here on the College COD Summer Open, powered by eFuse, we're going to head to a quick little break, and when we come back, an important swing map between Penn State Blue and Purdue COD.
College COD Summer Open presented by eFuse is back underway. Penn State, Purdue COD tied at 1 apiece. We're inside of the control. 6 lives ticked off the board, make it 7 for Penn State. Only 3 for Purdue COD, who are on the defensive side, looking to go ahead and spawn trap Penn State, which has worked out actually in flying colors thus far. Everybody all the way back on the furthest portion to the right side of the map finish. Tom going to be able to get some crispy, beautiful shots with the Craig over the top of the head glitch to B3. And as Blanche tries to push up the map, Epics will pair for another one as well. But they've only got 25 seconds to either get to A or B. It doesn't look like this is going to be a round that really bears much fruit.
Blanche, the FFA are not going to be the weapon you need to get out of that. Stuck in the spawn trap. You need a few heroes to get on out, but Benji and Tragic put them in the blender. What a heads up play. He's 8-0. He's got double streaks since the start of this round. He's looking for a little bit more. Make it 9. Give him double digits. There you go. He's not even going to go for the 11th one just yet. It is going to be an easy round for Purdue COD there. And you know what? When you're looking at Penn State Blue, back on the Garrison hardpoint, what made them so good at breaking from that Hill 3 hardpoint was the fact that Epics and Taze were just taking over the map, and they were pushing through dark so easily. For the 7th round, I mean, Benji with Tragic watching over them, it was basically an impenetrable wall.
So let's see. Map number 1. No, you don't shut down Tragic, but Tragic has a fantastic game in map number 1 for the hard point. Map number 2, Tragic starts off slow. The comeback just so magically happens when Tragic gets back to positive, and they ended up winning that game. Not to take anything away from the rest of the teammates, but in round number 1 here of map number 3, Tragic goes on a 10 spree, and they win it handily without giving a tick of progress or even any bit of light to the side of Penn State Blue. So we're just going to stay on board with Tragic now. See what he's able to do. He's got 10 in a row. Why not go for a couple more here? And as Benji finds the first one of the round, Johnson over the top will fall to the hands of Tragic. Tragic looks down below as well. Will finally fall to the hands of Taze, but he's got full streaks to work with. And now Purdue COD, they pushed up onto the B site and the A site. They're going to be able to split the defensive side here. And more importantly, they're stopping the clock at every which way.
It was basically an educational run of how high can you count Tragic. Made it to 11, but that's where it stops. Stone trying to get onto this A site and capture a point. Not going to be that. Only playing really distraction on B. Well, they capture that second one, but it's Johnson to spoil the fun. 25-25 in the life count. You got a minute left to capture one of these and send it to another minute. Looking at Tragic here to play distraction one more time to allow his team back onto B, but they're not biting. They're not biting the distraction. Instead, Tragic's going to hop on back, look to find some players from behind, and allow his team to get on that B side a little bit easier. He finds one. He's still got player number 1 to deal with, though. He is just sitting up on that floating tank.
Tragic is basically just sprinting around the map, although he stops a little bit right here inside of square, looks for Taze. mean, you've got the callouts that everybody from the side of Penn State is going to be pushing here to spawn, and if not, they're all the way back across to the left portion of the map. You've only got to deal with 2 players right now, and you get back on towards the B site. So you're going to have an extra minute on the clock, either minute 45 to work with if you are the side of Purdue. Nobody over towards A, though, and that's the big problem. However, with Benji finding that first blood, might make it a bit easier. You've only got 1 life to the good right now. And if the side of Penn State can go ahead, continuously pile on the kills, make sure that they get Purdue caught off of this A zone, we are going to potentially be looking at a tied 1-1 game here on Garrison. The big thing I want to take into consideration, though, is already three zones, 3 ticks being controlled by the side of Purdue COD, and that could be big going forward. Team kill, though, costly. Might be able to get 1 or 2 here inside.
Bends it right into bricks. He's gonna find another one. Here's the break now. The flood on in through green, but with that team kill, just a little bit less to work with on that. Now Benji off of that respawn. Farthest one push up. Gonna make sure his team gets out safely with a few kills. He's gonna give epics. The route run almost got turned on, but still safely gonna find that 1 stone to collapse on in with him. But these trades, every single time you see Penn State finding the trades even 1-for-1, it's just gonna not allow Purdue COD to get onto the site even more. But with that, 2 kills from Tragic and VT2, gonna put Stone onto this hill for a little bit. Not for long.
Even on the offensive side, they're still going for the spawn. What just happened? What was that kill? Dude, they just matrixed around each other, did a little tango for about 10 seconds. It looks like we were celebrating the quinceañera of both of those 2 players, but either way, 9-6 on the scoreboard now. It's 3 lives separating the 2 teams. Purdue Gold still up, and they, again, have been spawn trapping Penn State, even on the offensive side. I'm sure you got a couple of players on the zone, but you've only got 33 seconds to work with. Spawn's going to be checked. It's going to find 1. Oh, that's such unfortunate timing there from Taze. Maybe he's going to call in the artillery barrage, and it looks like that'll happen. So not going to hop out on the point just yet. Going to keep everybody from Penn State inside of the eastern cobble and square for now. That's going to allow Purdue just to get out onto the point. You got to fly to the hill. You got to be able to contest this here. You're not even trying to get onto it just yet. Shots are going to be peppered through the doorway. Nobody's going to be there. An offensive round win for Purdue COD. They looked at stellar on the defensive side last time, so you've got to assume this one probably is going to be a very quick control in a 3-0 fashion.
All I have to say is that if I was gonna mention that if you're gonna use both those streaks, you better win the round, Purdue. And the streak, it keeps them back in brick long enough to stack the site comfortably and set up a crossfire for Purdue. Every single player that walks out of that bricks choke died instantly. They got deleted. And the Penn State, they weren't able to hit that overextension and get the flank long enough before the hill got capped because you couldn't contest it from the front line. So 2 swift rounds from Purdue. They seem in control right now. You had a little bit of a fight back when Penn State was on defense, but it's a lot harder to attack. Like you said, back onto this defensive side, you have to think that Purdue wants to put this one away, as last time they made a nice Penn State smoothie.
There's so many ways you can go with a joke like that. We're not going to get into the specifics here on stream. Use your imagination for that one, guys. Has something to do with football. Purdue COD over towards the right side of the map, looking back over towards the left once again. Penn State trying to get out of their spawn. It's just so difficult for them to break out onto the side of Purdue COD, specifically with the boa constrictor type hold that they've been able to have. Because Seymour, really the thing is like, when you look at the map and you've looked at where the side of Penn State have been able to push up, sure, they got 1 player over towards A, but if you're just able to pepper up the spawn, take lives off of the board of the side of Penn State, you're looking at a very easy round win, specifically if you just get the last player off of A.
Tragic just used both streaks in the last round. He has 2 streaks again.
That's pretty good.
25-5. You talk about taking over a game. Tragic is that guy. Now let's see if they can just get the rest to the grave right now. You got the break from Penn State trying to force on through. 21 seconds to get onto a hill, capture a site, and put it farther down for that. But you do have the flank coming on in. Stone is going to find 1 break, looking to pressure off this site. Track's going to hop on in. They have the crossfire, and look at that 3 go down back to the Shadow Realm. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Purdue, they are dominating this control.
Lay your arms down, lay your weapons down, because Penn State, you're getting sent down to a 2-1 deficit in this best of 5 0. Oh, maybe. No, Benji in middle map's gonna be able to find 1. Make it 2, tries to go for the 3rd, but Tragic's there with the cruise missile. That'll do it. Purdue COD, a beautiful display of control here inside of map number 3. They take a 2-1 lead in the best of 5 series, in a map number 1 that could have went either way, specifically on the comeback that Purdue COD were able to make. They have not looked back after that last little bit of presence that they had. They win the S&D, they win the control, and now they look to close things out on a hard point. Now it's a little bit interesting because we were talking about, oh, we got to at least have a map 4 get forced. Now Penn State's fighting for their lives on a raid hard point, trying to force a map number 5. So we'll see where this one goes, but we said at the beginning of this best of 5 that this one probably has girth to go down to the very end of it, get all the way to map number 5. So if I was a betting man, I'd still probably say we're going to see map number 5.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at raid coming up next, Garrison Hardpoint was where Penn State looked the most comfortable. I would say standoff, they had a good start to it, but then it fell off towards the later end of it. But that Garrison was just one way. I mean, Purdue, like, you guys should know, like, I know it's called control, but you don't actually have to control literally everything the whole time. But if you do, props to you, and you did. 3-0 on that Garrison. Raid's going to be a tough battle for either side. And I'm looking at Taze and I'm looking at Epics. I mean, they had such a great map on Garrison. They're pretty much the reason why they won that. That's because they dropped like 60 kills plus between the two of them. I need to see that same SMG duo if they're going to take Raid here, if they want that map 5. And I'm sure they do, because need I remind you, this is an elimination match between both Penn State Blue and Purdue COD. Whoever's looking at this to take it, they're going up into the losers final to play the loser of Ottawa Black versus SCU Blue. And I know you're looking at those and your job doesn't get easier from there. I mean, if you're Purdue COD, you might want to finish it out in 4, feel a lot more comfortable going up into that one with a more convincing win. But if you're Penn State, if you get that map number 5, you get that clutch gene in you for Express, and you come out on top in this, winning the 1, 4, and 5, you have to maybe feel that if you can patch up that's map number 2, and you have a little bit better of a control, you could go toe-to-toe with that. You got the storylines for either side, and I want to see that map 5. I know you want to see that map 5 too. I mean, it's Express. It's one of my favorite maps. Give it to us. Why not?
Without being biased, if I had the ability to manifest it, I absolutely would. I mean, we haven't really seen a map 5 throughout the entirety of the bracket. I know you and Jesse got to see one yesterday, but on the alpha side of things, we haven't been able to see a map number 5 between two teams yet. So this would be a very nice change of pace, specifically when we talk about, what's coming up later on. I don't think SEU Blue and Ottawa Black goes to a game number 5, and that's being generous. I also don't think that either of these two teams, if they get back to the grand final, are going to be able to force Ottawa Black into a best of 5. So if we don't get a game number 5 right here, I don't think we get a game number 5 any further unless it's the losers finals, which would be fantastic. But I want to see it here.
Well, we had like 57 teams in this, and we've only had two map 5s across both days. And I only saw one of those two, so I want to see another one right here. But if you're looking at Raid, I mean, you look at Taze and Epics, what is the key really to allow them to fly like they did on Garrison?
Shoot straight. That would be the main factor there. It's just the fact that they were non-existent inside the Garrison control. Johnson had a decent game, at least on the scoreboard. And when you look at Epics and Taze, the thing was if you have somebody like Tragic on the map who is locking down the lanes with the AR, your SMGs can't get out and they can't be able to fly like beautiful units. Like they're not going to be able to do that, and that's just how it is. And when you don't have any SMG presence on the map, you can't get aggressive over towards A. You can't get aggressive over towards B. You can't get anywhere on the map. And even if Johnson's able to take Tragic off the board once or twice, you still have everybody else on the side of Purdue COD who was also having great game. Just because Tragic had a standout performance doesn't mean everybody else on the side of Purdue also wasn't right there along with Tragic, just in a lesser way, being able to push the aggression up the map and not let anybody out of the spawn. So they played that perfectly. That is the one time that I will kind of use the word perfect for a way that a team plays a control map all the way through, more or less. For the side of Penn State, we just need to see what we saw in map number 1, and I think it's a lot easier when there's not set spawns and you allow your players to be able to get a little bit shifty, get up in the face of the opponents, and you just gotta look out for Benji. Really, you shut down Benji on the map, you shut down the opportunity for flanks from Purdue COD, and Penn State can really solidify themselves a lot of map presence.
Well, here we go. Map number 4, Purdue COD versus Penn State Blue. Looking to push us to that Express is the blue side, and they are actually gonna have the favored spawns as well here on Raid. They find a full 3 down, and also have kitchen control if number 8 can take down VT2. He does. So if you're looking at Purdue, you're looking at those white arrows to just explode through the middle of the map. Look to get the overextension, draw these spawns out, and with a few kills, you get a spot from VT2 blessed to him in the back of that. And just like that, with the snap of a finger, Purdue in control of this rotation.
Look at the middle map. Purdue COD looking to hold it down once again. The AR of Tragic starting off at 3-1. Johnson at 1-1. There really hasn't been much AR presence from the side of Penn State Blue. And you got to think back to what Blanche has been using throughout the majority of these games, and it's been that FFAR. And when the FFAR is not working, sure it's used as a nice flex weapon to be able to get up and aggressive in the face of your opponents. When it's not working, you're losing solid AR presence, and then you only have 1 AR compared to the 2 from the side of Purdue. And when you have Tragic and VT2 being able to do what they do with the AR role, locking down every single one of your players, you're basically SOL, and you're going down the drain.
So far, so good for Purdue here on the second hill. Keeping themselves at 46 so far, and you still got 34 in the tank to collect. You look at the mini-map, you got some arrows looking to collapse on them, but they are losing out on the front line battle, so those arrows are going to have to back up, reinforce them, and hit from the front. Now Taze from money, the pinch is in, 3 go down. The collapse not there yet, because it's Benji coming out with a big 2-piece to hold down the fort for Purdue COD. He's going to find a third one to give him 3 in a row now, and that should give the rest of the time to this hill, number 2, to Purdue COD.
Back on the middle map, we look to the rotation. Penn State Blue have been set up, but Johnson could be the one to play spoiler. A trigger discipline doesn't kill the player that's inside of Art or alert them to the presence. Now as Johnson starts to make the push in through Art, we'll be able to find the first one onto Stone. Over towards Jim's side, VT2 tries to get aggressive to push out the player instead of Art, but around the corner, Epix was able to be there for the trade. So you asked beforehand, what do Epix and Taze need to do? They just need to have their AR slay out for them. And as Johnson's at 6-4, he's leading the way. He's leading the mark thus far. They got a bit of ways to come back, but with another 4 down in the kill feed again, they're going to get probably the last 30 to 35 seconds here without Purdue COD really being able to push through. And they're just going to set up on the next rotation because we'll be looking at about a tied game if Penn State get all those scrap time.
Yeah, you really had one last chance to break through this chokehold of Penn State to get to this garage hill. It doesn't work, so with the last 20 seconds, just make sure you're comfortable over at basketball courts because, again, it's a money hill. You don't want to give up streaks. You got, right now, Tased on 5. He's looking for that artillery strike. If he can clear out Kitchen, it would give it to him, but Benji tucked away in the corner. He's going to get that. The trade is there, but I mean, that's a big kill for Purdue because you're taking down those streaks. No presence there at all, and you're just going to solidify yourself with this rotation early. If you're looking at Penn State Blue, they are spawning so far out. It's going to be about 10 seconds before they can even touch this hill.
I mean, if you're Taze right there, you got to communicate with Epix. Be like, hey, you need to bait out this Kitchen for me so I can go ahead and get this kill. These streaks are going to be precious for us later in the game, specifically if we want to break even into the basketball court now, not allow Purdue to get themselves an extended lead, but even back over towards P number 5. But now you got a 1 versus 4 at the hill. Taze will find the second to make it 3rd in a row. And sure, you're on streaks yet again, but I would have loved to see the communication there and Epix being able to take that bait so that Taze could have gotten those streaks for the side of Penn State. Either way, though, this is a very closely contested game all the way through. We got one more hard point in our first set of hills. Probably be about head-to-head as we get there.
Granted, a very clean break, too, over to basketball courts. Nothing really kind of standing in their way that one. Is Taze for 3 in a row. He puts himself back on the road to streaks. And you just ultimately give up the lead now. You are going to see the lead change back into Penn State Blues. We are going to be relatively even going back to this courtyard. Again, it's going to be Purdue set up early. I don't want to see them get broken as fast as they were last time. If they are going to set up early again, we need to start seeing them put some force down, but it's Johnson to make the overextension back to the ring. He's going to find VT2 from behind. You got Stone and Tragic in the side being pinched out on either angle. It's Epix into it. Tragic has no idea, and the break again clean from Penn State Blue.
Epix playing his life perfectly inside of point number 5 right now, just challenging out to the pillar side. Basically give himself away all the way. But just, I mean, you know, as much as you try to praise somebody when it's something like that, sure, it's a timing thing. But at the end of the day, Purdue, just as clean as the Penn State break was over towards the basketball court, they break in perfectly into P5. This should give them 20 seconds of scrap time. And now you can sit yourself up instead of Art to get these first couple of players that are trying to rotate on towards P1. And sure, you got play number 3 and Tragic all the way over towards the laundry side, but unless Stone's able to find a couple kills through the sides here, and oh, he gets the kills on the Johnson, you're still going to be looking at a Penn State Blue roster who's going to have the availability to get aggressive in towards P1, but it's just not enough. They don't have any mid-map control. No presence.
And I mean, if we're going to recap and highlight the history of this hardpoint so far, you look at how even these two teams are right now. What are they missing? VT2, he hasn't had that slaying potential that he had in the search and destroy, or even in the control that we saw from him. And if Penn State Blue, you're looking at Blanche. If these players can heat up for their team, you can start to see them take control of this. And I know this FFAR you can see this light up the kill feed easily. So I need to see Blanche turn up if Penn State Blue want to force that game number 5 right now, because everybody else is stepping up to the plate. We're going back to an even game right now. Purdue's taking another swing at the seal to deny any time. Make sure they hold on to the comfortable lead. They have the spawns. They have the hill right now. Scrap time's going to be a toss up in the air between Blanche. He's going to win a big, crucial 1v1. So scrap time now. Penn State Blue, you got to look at the rotation.
Despite what we saw in game number 1, Penn State and Purdue COD, this is what we were deprived of in that first hard point, despite that comeback late. Closely contested all the way through. And now it's going to be on the side of Penn State Blue to break into point number 2 inside of the kitchen. First one's going to be pushing up. That's going to be Blanche and Taze now back and forth together. The tandem is here. Doesn't want to push around the corner just yet. Knows a couple of players are going to spawn close through the back, but the player inside of Money is dead. Now Johnson can fly in. Epix goes big over towards the Money room. Benji in the back is going to be able to find one. An off-kill and off-screen engagement will go to the hands of Epix, and now as Blanche flies in, it's basically back and forth. The pinstripe kill feed until Tragic finds 2 and forces Penn State all the way back to the respawn block. Now's the question. Do you push for this 30 seconds of time? Do you rotate while also sending a couple of forces there? And then you risk also getting killed and then spawning behind by P2, not being able to have reinforcements at P3.
Well, Benji might have just solidified the option right there. With that kill, you're going to see the spawns for Penn State Blue over to the right side of the minimap. You need to lock down this garage. Take it back to hill number 3 last time around. It was a full 60 to Penn State Blue. If they could get that, they are going to accumulate 220 points and put themselves in striking distance of a victory. You need to see a break from Purdue come fast. And Benji and Stone, they're going to lead the way. Tragic finds a second one. You're looking for the break early. The spawn out is here. The collapse into this hill number 3. Already Benji for the contest. The slide around. Shot punch. He's going to put it away. What a break from Purdue.
Good break, 50 seconds away from taking map number 4 and the best of 5 series. Epics, though, and the rest of the side of Penn State Blue, they break back in with ease in just seconds of Purdue COD being able to strike. Shot punch is going to be there for Blanche. And now as Penn State have getting themselves back into the hill, Purdue COD, they've done what they needed to do. They broke in, they disrupted, they contested for as much time as they needed to basically keep this within a 10-point game, even if Penn State gets all the time in the world here. And they've already set up for the basketball court. So what was talked about streaks earlier on, not there for Penn State Blue. They're going to have to try and break this just through sheer gun skill. The good news, however, is that the last time that they were able to do this was on point number 4, and it was flawless.
It's a 3-on-3. You have a spawn out for both teams. And the extension for the player that was anchoring that hill. Player number 2, that's going to be VT2. He could really spoil the fun right now for this, but it's going to be Taze looking to force his way through jungle right off the top ropes of the staircase. Pinstriped kill feed again because these teams are so close in contention. But Stone, he pushes the aggression. He's going to find 2. But what you didn't realize is that Taze is still alive. You have to take him down. Now you can win it out if you're Purdue. You're getting the spawns back in jungle. This last fight from Penn State could be everything.
1-on-3. Blanche has to go big with the FFAR, can't do it. Stone around the corner, Tragic will find 2, 15 seconds. You just gotta throw everything in the kitchen sink at Purdue COD's hold here on the basketball court. Penn State down the staircase. Johnson, the shots, not gonna be able to get it. You just gotta get in. You've gotta contest. Benji's there in the corner. Taze will fall. Johnson can't win it either. Penn State, they lose it. Purdue COD come back from a 1-0 deficit in the series. A crazy comeback that almost came to fruition in map number 1 comes true in map number 2. They take map number 3, 3-0. And here, on the very last stand for this best of 5 series, Penn State tries to force the map number 5. They can't get it done. Purdue COD, they'll be moving on to the losers finals. They will be playing against the loser of SEU Blue and Ottawa Black for a chance to get to the grand finals. Seymour, that hard point was what we were robbed of in map number 1.
Exactly.
We get a beautiful finish there. And even though we don't get a map number 5.
Penn State, I mean, they put up the fight. You can see that they wanted that express at the end there. You can see that they had the energy in them. I mean, Taze and Epics, you needed them to step up, and they did. They had so many good breaks into that hill simultaneously off of each other. And with their ARs, yes, Blanche, maybe in my eyes, the FFAR wasn't the gun to go with. But I mean, if you haven't really been keeping up with Cold War throughout the year and you're hopping into this just to kind of get back into it, the FFAR, it's not that bad of a gun to pick up just to flex back into it and have that aggression alongside the assault rifle roll. So not too worried about that for Penn State's kind of gun skill. Maybe wanted that double Krieg, but that's just hypotheticals for the future. You could have pushed to an express in that if you had like the fourth player there kind of playing with you. But on the other side, I mean, Vanish Tom, he didn't have a bright game for himself either. So it was basically just kind of smooth sailing for the SMGs. They're going head to head, fire with fire. Went down to the distance. And maybe I think if you're looking at a difference maker, it could have been Tased if he found those streaks early
Sure.
on. If you had those streaks to break into the basketball hill and you didn't have to just kind of rely on a disjointed retake through kitchen, I think that could have been a different kind of story at the end of it, but it's the story that we get. I was talking about Purdue COD, how I wanted to see them close this out on 4 if they wanted to go up against Ottawa Black or SCU Blue and have a little bit more comfort under their belt into it. They win it 250 to 202 in that raid. It looked good for them. The SMGs were on fire. And you want to talk about a highlight for me? It's got to be Benji. He's been such a nuisance to play against for Purdue COD, constantly in your back line, constantly shutting down rotations. And yeah, you have Tragic as the AR to allow him to fly like that. But when you allow somebody to fly, they don't always do that. But Benji, he's been the guy to do that.
He has been, and you can't take anything away from Tragic because what he did inside of the S&D, but more importantly,
The
map number
control.
3 to give that, it was dominant on another level from the side of Purdue COD during Garrison control, and that was behind the hands of Tragic, who really led the way. I think he almost ended up dropping somewhere around 30 kills in 3 rounds of control, where there was only about, I'd say, 50 or so kills to go throughout the entirety of the team. So either way, that was a big exclamation mark on the series, but that raid hardpoint does give Purdue COD the availability to go to the losers finals, try to resurrect where they got taken down by SEU Blue a little bit earlier on. We don't know who's going to play that just yet, and that's a match that we will go to next with our winners finals. Myself and Seymour are done. It's College COD Summer Open's not, though, powered by eFuse. You got I Hold Shift in Proper Cast coming up next here for the stream. We're going to kick it to a short break, though, and when we come back, the winners finals will be underway. The caster swap will be complete, and you'll get to see the top 3 teams duke it out for supremacy and the title of the champion of the College COD Summer Open.